have theories from law enforcement and friends?
We've got a couple theories just from law enforcement, and you probably can guess
And
what they are.
even though we're like way at this point already, I should explain for new people tuning into the show how we do this format. If you haven't listened to any other episodes, typically one of us will research the story and the other person comes into it kind of blind. So I am the blind party here. This is the first time I'm hearing it. So I'm kind of listening for the first time with you guys. That's why I ask all the questions, because I literally don't know. So continue, Mike.
Yes. So I'll just wrap it up with a quote from, let's see here, Sweetgrass County Under Sheriff Alan Roenberg. He said he was very close, but just didn't quite get there. And police believe he may have passed up the opportunity for shelter out of fear of getting caught for trespassing. He says all 3 hunters were known for trespassing and poaching. So there is an interesting aspect to that. When Christine Hedges initially reported her husband missing, she told dispatch he had entered the area by trespassing on the Park County side. So it sounds like they had some fear of being caught by local landowners. And I know, people out west, take trespassing pretty seriously. It's not like out here, if you go on somebody's lawn, they'd say hi to you. Like, I would be careful doing it out west. You might get shot.
Yeah.
So just to recap some events, so we can kind of like summarize this, because the path that Aaron took and where his stuff was found makes absolutely no sense to me. So the group heads off from Cottonwood Creek Trail with their original destinations, a base camp around Campfire Lake, which, like I said, is roughly 3.92 miles, from the trailhead to where their base camp was. Aaron separates from the group early on the morning of the 7th. He planned to head to Sunlight Lake to pick up some reserve gear, which is roughly about 2.8 miles from their base camp to Sunlight Lake. At some point on the 7th, Aaron misses the fork and radios his friends that he didn't say he was missing, but he just said lost. He just said he missed the fork. At some point during the search, Aaron, on the 17th, Aaron's boots and gear are discovered west of Sunlight Lake near Sunlight Creek. This is roughly about 1.1 miles west. The following June, more of Aaron's gear is discovered between 30 and 40 miles north of Big Timber in the Rhine Lake area, which is roughly 21 miles east of Sunlight Lake. Finally, in August of 2016, his remains are found in the Sweetgrass Ranch area, which is roughly 9.22 miles east of Sunlight Lake and 3.7 miles south of Rhine Lake, where some of his gear was previously found the year before. In all, Aaron potentially traveled 7.8 miles before ditching his boots, and then traveled another 24.7 miles, roughly from where he left his boots, to the Rhine Lake area where he ditched more gear, and then headed south before finally dying. To me, none of that makes any sense. And we don't know.
It's way longer than that too. I'm tracing, like, you're doing crow fly distances.
Yeah, crow fly distance.
Now, looking at the map, and I really wish I had screen share pulled up, because I like totally drew this out on Google Earth. But like, I'm going from like where his base camp originally was. He would have had to go over 2 peaks to get to Sunlight Lake, or go completely around, which would be going around just to get to Sunlight Lake is 6 miles to go from where their base camp should be, then tool around, go back down. That makes it another 9 miles. And I'm trying to trace along kind of like, hey, this is like roughly what a path would look like. It's a significant amount of hiking.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me do this. Starting point there. 3 miles.
Yeah, a little over there.
Sorry, my bad. 5 miles back down.
Yeah,
how many miles did you guess he would have to travel?
About 24.7 after ditching his boots, assuming that's the correct timeline.
Yeah,
like I said.
No, you know what? You're right. I think it's like I'm getting like 26, 27 miles.
So,
and to be fair, too, when you're going east, it is all downhill, with the exception of going it would be faster and easier.
Yeah.
You can cover downhill ground in a mountain range real quickly.
Yeah. And if this
So
guy is, you know,
how many days was it before before the storm hit from when he was like missing?
so he went missing sometime on the 7th. They last talked to him on the radio in the afternoon or early evening on the 7th. And then the snowstorm hit sometime on the evening of the 10th. So this, you know, you have the 8th and 9th and most of the day on the 10th, and then bad weather came in.
Okay.
And if he's, you know, traveling light, there's lots of water around there. It's not inconceivable to
if he follows
cover that distance.
Yeah, if he follows Bruin Creek all the way from Sunlight Peak out, you could do that in like being conservative 10, 11 hours
Yeah.
because it's downhill. And here's the deal. I'm going off Google Earth. So like I'm getting the 3D look, but it is downhill.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to think of every time I've gone to Colorado, some peaks that take me, you know, me not being someone who lives out there and does 14ers all the time.
Yeah.
It'll take me 2 days to get up to a peak. And because I'm doing it comfortably, I can get off that peak back to my car in like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Because if you're going back down sometimes. So, but the whole question then would be if he's got GPS, if he knows what he's doing. He didn't have a map. Did they say he had a map?
I don't know
They
if he
didn't
had a map.
mention?
I would assume. Well, I can't assume that. People don't
Yeah.
always carry maps.
But there's the reality that once he gets out here, it's really flat and open.
Mhm.
When he gets out to the point where he's going to that lake where they like near where his final remains are,
Yeah.
Rhine Lake. It's fairly flat and open. So if there's a ranch or there's trails everywhere,
Yeah.
like not natural, like clearly straight trails, I don't see why it'd be too difficult to find your way to that ranch from where he was.
Well, and what doesn't make sense is we don't know which location he went to first after he was reported missing. So we don't know if he ditched his boots first, or we do know that he died at Sweetgrass Ranch, or at least
So Nick D, our commenter expert, said he had the storm in his back and there was a map on his Garmin device. So provided that he didn't run out of battery in his Garmin, he should have. I mean, he had GPS,
yeah.
so he was going the complete opposite way of where his base camp was supposed to be.
Yeah, and I've used GPS out in the woods, and
I'm wondering if he had an accident and died, and his remains got down there via animal,
yeah,
like a mountain lion was like, because where they found, didn't they say they found some of his remains kind of under some stuff, like in some foliage? Like, could that just be predators moving body parts? I don't know.
They don't know.
Okay.
I guess so. Just quickly, because we're kind of gone over our time on this one.
Technically, it's whatever time we want it to be.
That's true. So just to wrap that up, I think we don't know. We do know where his remains are found. We don't even know if that's where he actually died.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Like that's real far away. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to hike there within the amount of time the storm came up on him.
Yeah.
But the way his friends were acting was a little weird. That gave me some pause.
Well, it's so I did put a couple snippets in here from actual law enforcement reports to kind of exonerate his friends. So
okay.
The first statement was, it's important to note that the two friends are not suspects in this case.
There you have it.
There you go. We're done. It's over. No,
the police chief is one of his friend's dad.
One was extremely forthcoming and cooperative, and he did not appear to be deceptive in any of his answers. He even handed over his phone to investigators. The second friend was initially less talkative, but he sat down with detective in March of 2015 and told him his version of events. The sergeant stated, "At this time, the evidence at hand and the interviews I have conducted with both friends lead me to believe that there was no foul play on the part of either the friends in Hedges' disappearance." So law enforcement ruled out his friends in foul play. Jumping right into theories. Obviously, law enforcement basically said, it was hypothermia exposure. And that kind of makes sense in the sense that they were finding his gear all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know the timeline of it. Did he ditch his boots first? Did he ditch some of his gear up by the Rhine Lake area first? We don't know that, but he was taking his gear off because his boots were found miles and miles and miles away from his remains, and other gear was found, several miles away from where his remains were found. So that is a plausible theory.
So I just learned a new feature on this thing live. Check it out. So Nick D says he was going through withdrawals due to alcoholism, so he was disoriented. That's what his friend meant when he said he wasn't in the right state of mind.
Oh,
Nick, you're gonna have to email us and give us a little more background on why you know so much about this case. Because seriously, I want to I want to verify that you do know, because I'm giving you a lot of credit live here. But then I'd love to follow up and give you a shout out formally on maybe the next episode.
cool. And we're learning new stuff.
Did you see how I popped up the message on the screen? That was pretty sweet. You just click on it and it shows on there.
Wow. Well, so I think I guess if he's coming down, he's an alcoholic and he's suffering withdrawals out in the wilderness,
that could,
depending on how bad of an alcoholic he was, that could be very, traumatic.
Well, you think about what your body's going through already, and if he gets lost and then he maybe is incapacitated enough he can't set up camp.
Nick said he read the police report.
But still, I want to know why you are even involved in that so much. It's the guy who did it. He's on here. I'm just kidding.
No,
I think that plays a role in it, because usually when you think about these types of cases, there's always kind of that one linchpin that when it's pulled, everything kind of just starts going and unraveling.
Yeah.
So if he's a recovering alcoholic per Nick, so we're gonna assume Nick D comment is correct.
Yeah.
And that I haven't read this police report that said that. So let's just assume that that's correct as one of the theories. And he's already kind of lost. I think I'm starting to kind of go with what you said. Maybe he started getting hypothermia because he's already in withdrawal.
Yeah.
It's escalating that situation, goes through some paradoxical undressing, starts wandering around kind of aimlessly. And if it's warm enough, you're not going to collapse immediately. So wandering around downhill for several miles, I don't think seems very implausible.
Yeah. I mean, that is, I think that's a very plausible explanation. I was also kind of going the foul play route, not with his friends, but that something happened where somebody killed him and maybe dumped his body where his remains are found, because it was close to a road.
So why?
And why would they do it there? Because you could see the house that those people.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what
close.
The motive would be, like trespassing.
Only thing I can think of is a landowner angry that they've been trespassing and poaching on their private property, because it was mentioned that they've trespassed and poached before in the past.
Okay. So in a small town where everybody might know everybody in the area and they know these guys are always causing problems.
Cranky landowner that literally is like, you come on my property, I'm going to shoot you. I could, maybe.
Yeah.
But why would you dump a body near somebody's house? I mean, it's Montana. It's so open and remote. There's literally millions of other places.
You could go literally.
You could do that
anywhere.
Not in front of somebody's house.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of just blew my own theory.
Okay. So what do you think happened? Just final.
I think I agree with the commenter on YouTube that he got lost. If he's a severe alcoholic, he was having severe withdrawals, and it caused him to not think clearly. And he started wandering around before the snowstorm hit. And then this massive snowstorm hits, dumps 2 feet of snow on the area. He has already walked out of the search area.
Yeah, if he doesn't have his gear or he's missing critical items, that's game over real quick.
I mean, he may have in those couple days that from when he was reported missing to or when he was last seen to when he was reported missing, may have completely wandered out of the search area. And then the snowstorm hits, and now he's, dumping gear. And maybe he had a second pair of boots with him. Maybe something happened to those boots. He dumped them off at the creek, and he had another pair of boots at the supply cache. Though his friends did mention, I forgot to say this in the episode, that when they went back to the supply cache on the 12th, I believe, or the 11th, that none of the gear had been taken.
Okay.
So either he didn't take the gear or he never showed up there.
Wow.
So I think it's safe to say, based on the statements from the friends made to law enforcement, he never showed up at the supply cache.
I think that's fair.
So,
because even if you're like in a withdrawal stupor, you might still like
and
open it up, pull some things out.
how many people
whatever.
hike with a spare set of boots in their pack? They're so heavy. I've never done it.
I haven't.
So you got to assume once he took his boots off,
I have my camp Crocs
yeah.
that everyone makes fun of me for, but they weigh nothing and they're wonderful.
So I mean, you got to assume that he probably took his boots off and then was for a period of time walking around without boots on. But it wouldn't make sense for that to happen until he got hypothermic.
All right, stop contradicting yourself.
I know.
What do you think happened?
I think he succumbed to exposure from hypothermia from paradoxical undressing, and he wandered out of the search area, which is why he wasn't found sooner.
I'm gonna agree with you.
Yeah, wow.
I do. I don't have an alternative theory. I was immediately kind of going down the foul play route.
Yeah.
And like you, I think a lot of that just kind of fell off. There's too much pointing the opposite. I still think it's weird they made that call right away when they didn't find all of his remains. But
yeah, I mean, things that stick out to me as strange is why didn't the friends drop their hunting trip and go report him missing? Obviously, why is his gear?
If they trespass and poach, they might not be the best people. The most, like, because think about how we think about people. We think about people how we think about people, and we're not. Well, I like to think we're not terrible people. Like we wouldn't do that, but there are some pretty bad people. Not bad, but just like inconsiderate kind of people. So maybe they're just like, screw that guy. Like, we're not going to ruin our hunt. He's going to get lost. Like they probably thought maybe he's just camping somewhere and just being a jerk, like, and just finished. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
I'm with you. I think it was a mix of kind of like a perfect storm. Like if he's going through the alcohol withdrawal again, we're trusting the comments of Nick D, the YouTuber. So unverified yet.
We'll have to get a hold of that police report. I'm interested to read that.
Yeah.
I didn't find that online when I was.
But I'm gonna assume he gave us a lot of details pretty dang quick as we were talking. So if he's making it up, he's really good at it. So I'm gonna trust him for right now. I think it has to do with the withdrawal, getting lost, stuff like that. Like clearly he wasn't in a right state of mind per his friend. Like if he's going through that, that I think that could be enough out in the wilderness to get you lost enough to cause problems. And then if it just keeps spiraling from there, game over.
Yeah. Well, open and shut case. We solved it.
No, we didn't. In case we didn't solve it, we come back later.